So good to see you. You look great. I just wanted to first ask you, how have you been holding up? How is newlywed life? And how is Missy Franklin?
Very, very good. We are doing awesome. Thank you so much for asking. This year, I think it's been really important to keep things in perspective. It's important to do that every year, but especially this year. And I think my husband and I just feel very blessed because we know that this year has been really, really hard for so many people. And there have been people that have lost lives and have lost loved ones and houses and jobs and so much. And we just feel so fortunate that we have a roof over our head and food on our table and that we have each other. So all things considering, very similar to most people, there's definitely days where it's really hard and I miss the people that I love. But at the end of the day, we are very fortunate and we recognize just how blessed we are. So we're doing great. Newlywed life is awesome. Still utterly obsessed with each other. So that's going really well. And just still trying to make the world a better place from my home office.
Yeah, of course. Aren't we all, right?
Exactly.
And where is your home office? Are you still in Colorado or?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. We moved back to Denver in December of last year. So it's almost been a whole year, which is crazy. But yeah, been home for almost a year now and just absolutely loving it. Put us 2 hours away from mom and dad. So that's been one of the best parts.
Yeah, that's great. Especially, who could predict that we would have to be in our own little bubble where, traveling is so limited, but that's great.
Yeah. So we feel so blessed.
Awesome. So yes, of course, in reading up on what you're doing and kind of how you're using your platform now post your swimming career, I'm from Arizona, so I know how drowning and how swimming education is so important, especially at a young age. It's like every year you just hear about these tragic stories that happen in a tub, in a pool. It doesn't matter any kind of body of water, but especially with pools. And you frequent these spaces often. I'm curious, in your travel and kind of just having a pulse on what the accessibility is for these kids. What is it like to visit these communities or to learn about these communities where swimming education and pools might not even be accessible, even outside of a pandemic where things are shut down?
Totally. It's always so eye-opening. And I think that's such a powerful part of what the USA Swimming Foundation does, is it recognizes that swimming lessons should not be a privilege. It should be a right. Every child should have that opportunity. And we've done study after study, and it shows that houses with incomes less than $50,000 a year, those children are going to have less of a swimming ability than those of houses with higher incomes. And we can't live with that. We can't sit here and not give children that life-saving skill of a swim lesson. And so it's so powerful when normally we get to do our Make a Splash tour with Phillips 66 and we travel all around and we visit different communities and different pools and we host these big events talking, just like you were saying, about the importance of swim lessons and how they can reduce your risk of drowning by 88%. It's really unbelievable. And just hearing the stories, talking to the parents, it never ceases to just hit you in the heart. I can barely make it through any of those without crying at least once. It's so powerful. And there's nothing more powerful than when you meet a family or when even you know someone that knows someone that has lost a child due to drowning. It truly is just the most heart-wrenching feeling. And that's why I think the work that we're doing is so, so important. And this year especially, right? Because a lot of people didn't have time to go to the pools this summer, and we're not able to go around from city to city and talk about the importance of swim lessons. So we've created this Saving Lives is Always in Season campaign, and we essentially just want to keep this conversation going and tell parents, please don't wait until next May to get your kid in a pool. There are pools open now. There are learn to swim schools. If they're following those proper safety protocols, now is a great time to take them there, get them in the water. But please, please, please don't wait on teaching your child such a valuable life skill.
Absolutely. And I think the follow-up question for most parents is how can you do that safely, whether it's indoor, outdoor, obviously different climates and different communities, but just they're curious how they can, teach these life-saving skills while also protecting the well-being of their family.
Totally. And oh my gosh, if I was a parent right now, I would be the same way. I'm like that right now with my parents. I feel like I'm my parents' parents every time they leave the house. I'm like, do you have your mask? Do you have your gloves, your sanitizing wipes, your hand sanitizer? All right, good. You can leave and go to the post office and come back. But it's an amazing question, and there's so much that's being done. So as of course we get into the cooler months, a lot of those outdoor pools are going to start to close. So a lot of indoor pools will be open. As I mentioned, there's also Learn to Swim schools. And first and foremost, our website, usaswimming.org/saving lives, will actually have a resource there for parents to type in their zip code, and it will pull up available pools and Learn to Swim schools near them that are available for lessons. So that takes out a lot of the work in terms of finding a place. And then what all of these locations are doing right now, and as a parent, if you want to call ahead and make sure that they're doing that, I think that's great. But they're following so many safety protocols. So what a lot of places are doing right now is having the participant of the lesson come already ready. So they're in their suit, cap, and goggles. So no one is using the locker room. You come in, all the staff, all the participants are symptom screened. So they have their temperatures checked, they have hand sanitizer there, and then they're limiting the amount of people that are in the pool. I work at a swim lab, so we have individual little tanks, and there's only one person in there at a time. So that's very, very safe and socially distant. And then they obviously, same as everywhere, are really working on disinfecting any high use areas. And then the instructor is wearing a mask at all times. And if they're in the water with your child, they wear a face shield so that they're still being protected, and they're protecting your child as well. So I personally feel like they are a lot of locations that are taking every possible measure to make sure that it stays super, super safe. And it's also been scientifically studied and proven that in properly chlorinated water, COVID-19 cannot be transmitted through that. So I think that's something that hopefully will make parents feel a lot better as well. But of course, as parents, do whatever you need to do to make sure you're putting your child in a situation that you feel safe with. But we all feel very confident that a lot of these locations are really doing whatever it takes to be as safe as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, of course, the well-being of the children and the families that are participating in this activity is definitely top of mind. I'm curious, what is it like to? I've seen some pictures of these visits to these local communities that you've done with the tour. What is it like to kind of see that light bulb go off in a young kid's face when they finally figure out they can move through the water in their own time, in their own space without any assistance?
I think the best light bulb is when they overcome their fear of it. That to me is just such an unbelievable moment. And not learning how to swim, it's actually a generational issue. It's passed down. So in a family where the parents don't know how to swim, there's only an 18% chance that any child in that household is going to learn how to swim. So that kind of fear of the water is literally passed down. And so when you have kids where their parents may be facing that fear for the first time and saying, I don't want my child to be fearful around the water. I want them to be as safe as they possibly can be. But it's that child's kind of first interaction with the water. It's amazing to see the difference, even in just the short time that we're there, of them being with their mom and dad, maybe crying, being super emotional, and then putting a foot in, and then putting another foot in. And then we get them on kickboards and we're dragging them around, and then they smile and then they start laughing, and just like seeing that evolution is so powerful, because I think just as a professional swimmer for the majority of my life, I know the power of water and how amazing it is. And swimming is such an unbelievable sport. But I think for us, what matters is that we're telling parents and we're encouraging them that swim lessons are so important, and that we really can't say enough how important it is to get your child in the water. And if that leads to them being on a swim team, great. But if not, we're not here to recruit everyone to USA Swimming. We would love to, but we just want your children to be as safe as they possibly can around the water. That's our ultimate goal, but it's very powerful in many other ways as well.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you on that. And of course, I did my research, so I know where you're at. But for those inquiring minds, where is Missy Franklin at professionally? For people who might not have heard updates since the 2016 games, what have you been up to since the Olympics?
I have been retired, which at the ripe age of 25 is going great. It's been a crazy ride. So I did retire in 2018 after Rio. I had a shoulder injury at the Mesa Grand Prix, which was a few months before the Rio Olympic Games, and then had bilateral shoulder surgery in 2017. Tried to make a comeback, and unfortunately my body just wasn't quite having it. I was going to end up needing another bilateral shoulder surgery, and came to the very tough decision that I needed to put my cap and goggles down and try and figure out how else I could do good in the world outside of a swimming pool. And that's essentially what I have been doing since. I think the philanthropic aspect of what I do has always been the most important to me. And the kind of ironic thing about being a professional athlete is it does open a lot of doors, but while you're still competing, you can't really go through any of them because your one main priority is competing and training and your sport. That's your life. And so to be retired and to have these amazing opportunities and this platform that the sport has given me, and now to actually have the time and the energy to do something about it and to work with those people and those companies, it's really special. So I work with a lot of the same companies, a lot of the same foundations that I was working with when I was still competing. And it's such a blessing. I feel so grateful to work with the people and the companies that I do.
Yeah, I mean, could you have ever predicted that at 16 that you would have retired so young and now have taken this turn, in your post-athletic career?
Never, not in a million years. And I think that's the beauty of life. And I also think that's the beauty of things not going according to plan. I think at the time it's really, really hard and it feels like a total blow and like the world is crumbling from beneath your feet. And somehow just being able to find the trust in that and knowing that everything has a purpose and it may not be your plan, but what's coming on the other side could be even greater than what you had in mind for yourself. And I definitely feel like that's been the case for me.
Well, that's a beautiful message, I think, for a lot of athletes who might be also, looking ahead to father time, knocking on their door, of course, in whatever way it is. It always happens somehow. But is there anything else that I missed that you want people to know about this Saving Lives campaign, just in general, kind of how families or people can engage in the pool safely right now? Is there anything that I missed?
I think we covered most of it. I would say again, our website has so much good information. So just for reiteration, it's usaswimming.org/savinglives. And there's so many different tools on there. Like I said, you can see what's open near you. You can call them. You can see what they're doing. But our biggest encouragement right now is please don't wait until next May, until next summer to get your kid in lessons. You can do it right now. You can do it safely right now. And also it's a great way for them to let out some energy. So can go and line them up and give them some lessons and just have them take a nap for the rest of the afternoon.